Hey everyone, it's Ivett and welcome back to this week's Day Fit Sunday. Today I will be showing you guys how I make my not so stuffed cabbage casserole. Now if you guys are familiar with the European dish stuffed cabbage, it is a simpler version because I love that dish, but it takes quite a while to make. And I came up with this and it's super simple and it tastes really similar in a casserole form. So this is what you're going to need: one 16-ounce container of sour cream, about 4 cloves of garlic, about 5 to 6 dried bay leaves, 1 large egg. I already had a half of a yellow onion, so I'm sticking with that. 3 heaping teaspoons of fresh paprika, then some caraway seeds, 3/4 cup of white rice. Now you can try brown rice, but I haven't tried it with it yet because it does take longer to cook and I don't want to mess up the recipe, so I just use white rice for this. Then if you can get your hands on this European seasoning, it's called Vegeta, and I use it all the time, especially in European dishes. But if you don't have it, you don't have to stress. You can just use some onion powder and some dried parsley and you're good to go. A little bit of mustard. Actually, I forgot to tell you guys about this, but you will be needing about 1.5 cups of just cold filtered water, 1 medium-sized head of cabbage, and 1 pack of, well, you can use just the regular ground turkey, but I always use the extra lean one. So this is what you're gonna need, so let's get started. So the first thing you wanna do is preset your oven to 425. Rinse your head of cabbage, and I'm gonna be using this casserole dish. This is like my lucky casserole dish. I got this from my mama, and it's very European like, and it just, if I don't use it, things just don't turn out the same. And I don't recommend a glass casserole dish only because I feel you need more cooking time and it just doesn't turn out the same. You just have to cook it for longer, but then I get a little bit worried that it gets too dry, so I'm just gonna use a regular I forgot what these are called. I'll put it down below, but I just like to use this kind of casserole dish. So now that I have my head of lettuce cleaned, I'm just going to cut it in half. And we're going to start off by cutting out the core. Just like that. Then I just like to flip it on its side and cut it in half again. And then I'll cut this half in half as well. And then you want to make sure when you start cutting up your cabbage that you keep the thickness very similar, otherwise your cabbage won't cook evenly and we don't want that. So we just make sure we keep all of the cabbage slices the same. So now that I cut the first half of the cabbage up, I'm going to take my olive oil and drizzle about 2 to 3 tablespoons in my casserole dish. And then I'm just going to coat it and make sure it gets everywhere. I'm going to place this half of the cabbage right in the casserole dish. So once you have the first half of the cabbage in here, you want to go ahead and season it with a little bit of sea salt because it's going to help the cabbage release any of the water it might have. And I'm also going to add some caraway seeds. Okay, so I cut up the other half of the cabbage and I just placed it in a little glass bowl because we're going to use the other half on top of the casserole. Then I'm going to take my half of a yellow onion and just chop this up finely. Then taking a larger glass bowl, I'm going to add the onions to it. Then I'm also going to chop up my garlic. And then I'm going to add this in the bowl as well. Then I'm just going to add in my lean ground turkey and my 1 egg. Then you can typically find Vegeta at any kind of like a world market or a store that sells any kind of like foreign food and spices. Sometimes even my grocery store has them, but if you look for them, you can find them pretty easy. But I'm going to add in about maybe 1/3 of a teaspoon. My paprika. The 3/4 cup of white rice. And of course, some coarse ground black pepper. And now we're going to mix this with our hands. Okay, so this is a really pretty sight, I know, but once you have mixed everything together and you feel like all the spices and everything are well combined, you're going to take your casserole dish and we're going to place the meat mixture just right on top of the cabbage. And then you just want to flatten it out and make sure you have layered it nice and evenly. And then I'm going to be using my dried bay leaves, and this is the difference maker in this recipe. If you don't have dried bay leaves, it's just not the same. Or fresh ones. My mom has these in her garden, so I get these all the time, but I use about 6, and I just place them throughout the casserole pan. Now when it's done cooking, all you have to do is find them and take them out, but if you don't use the bay leaves, it's just not the same. So just kind of lay them wherever, and then we're going to top the casserole with the remaining cabbage. So I'm just going to add that on top. And then once again, really quick, you just want to add a little bit of sea salt so it can help release any of the water out of the cabbage. And then I'm also going to add some more caraway seeds. Okay, so I'm going to take a clean bowl and I'm going to add in my sour cream. Now, as you guys know, I am a firm believer in not cutting everything out. I certainly don't cut sour cream out of my diet. I have never tried this with, non-fat Greek yogurt. I don't know if it would turn out the same, but this is one thing I don't cut out, and that's sour cream. So I'm going to take the whole container and just dump it out into my glass bowl. And then depending on your consistency of your sour cream, you want to kind of do like a 2-to-1 ratio, or because sometimes a 1-to-1 can be a little bit too, too watery. But adding water to the sour cream will dilute the sour cream a little bit, but it will also help cook the rice that we added to our meat mixture. So I'm just going to start off by adding half, so maybe 3/4 cup, and then just mix this until it's a good consistency. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. Okay, so I have about 1/4 cup of water left that I did not use, but I feel like I didn't need to. So I have a pretty good consistency going on. And now what I'm going to do is add in my mustard. And there's just something about adding maybe like a teaspoon of mustard to your sour cream. It just gives a hint of something. So I'm not even going to measure it out. I'm just going to add about a teaspoon and just mix it again. Now you want to make sure you don't add too much, because if you add too much mustard, then it tastes too much like mustard. But if you add a little bit, it tastes like something, but you know, you can't figure it out. So that's what you want. Okay, so for the fun part, now I'm going to take my casserole and I am going to dump this right on top, all over, nice and evenly. This is like the funnest part. So here we go. So once you add all your sour cream, all you're going to do is put the lid on and pop it in the oven for 45 minutes. Now I cook it for 45 minutes and then I take the lid off and cook it for another 15. So you're going to need an hour of cooking time. So we're going to pop this in the oven. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes and I wanted to take it out of the oven so I can show you exactly what I look for when judging whether this is done or not. So I'm going to take the lid off, and once you can tell that the sour cream has settled into the cabbage itself, this is when I pop it back in the oven for about another 15 to 20 minutes, or until the top of the sour cream starts to brown. Once it's been about 45 minutes, your house is going to start smelling amazing. It's going to be like a European little cottage or something. It just smells so good. So now I'm just going to pop this back in for 15 minutes and let the top of the sour cream brown a little, and then we're going to be done. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. So I wanted to show you guys what it looked like when it was done. The top has started to brown and it's just, it smells so good. This will actually make about 5 to 6 servings, and I take a little bit in a bowl and I top it with a little bit of sour cream, and it's amazing. So I hope you guys give it a try, and thank you so much for watching this week's David Sunday. Let me know what you think if you give it a shot, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. So I will see you guys really soon, and have a great week and a wonderful New Year's. Bye bye.